Hello and welcome to our final module. So in this one, we're going to be talking through common mistakes that people make when they are new to tracking. So with tracking, one of the most important things that we want is for the data that we're getting into MyFitnessPal to be accurate and reflective of what we're actually eating, because if the data is not accurate and reflective, it's not going to be able to help your coach make good decisions for you. And like I said, there's a few things that people can do when they're newer to tracking that can lead to that data not being accurate. So I'm going to talk through like 5 or 6 things in this video here. The first one is eyeballing. So eyeballing essentially means that you are just eating something without measuring it in any way, shape, or form. Typically, what I recommend is using a food scale. I know that's new to a lot of people, not maybe like a kitchen tool that you're used to using, but once you get used to it, it's literally no different than using like a cup or a tablespoon or those types of measuring tools. It's gonna be a lot more accurate. It's really easy to use, so you can certainly reach out to your coach and talk and get some support on how to use a food scale, when to use a food scale, all of those things. But even using a measuring cup, tablespoon is gonna be better than just eyeballing things. So that's gonna be one thing to really help make sure that your serving size that you get into MyFitnessPal is accurate and reflective to what you're actually putting into your body. The next one is eating your food before you log it. So especially once you start to get further into tracking and you have specific calorie and macro goals, sometimes, especially when you're new to tracking, you don't really know what foods contain what calories, what macros, and can really throw your day off. And why it's important to log it beforehand is because then you can see how it impacts your day and then make decisions based off of that. Like, okay, do I still want to eat this thing or order that thing, or would I maybe order something different now that I know how many calories are in it or the macros that are in it, or maybe I would just eat a smaller portion size of it. So this can be something really helpful, because if you eat the food and then track it, at that point you've already eaten the food, so you can't really make any adjustments or anything like that. The next thing would be not tracking like bites and tastes and things throughout the day. If it's like one little thing here or there over the course of the week, probably not a big deal. But if you're somebody who's like, let's say a mom, and you're regularly like maybe munching on food as you're like preparing breakfast and lunch and dinner throughout the day, or maybe you're cleaning up from lunch and like finishing what's on your kids' plates or things like that, those things can really add up throughout the day to the point where you could be multiple hundred calories off of what you're actually putting into MyFitnessPal. And then another one, I already kind of touched on this one before in one of the modules, I think, when I was talking through like using the database to search for foods, but using generic MyFitnessPal entries. So with that, again, we want to try to find that green check mark that's next to the food entries when you're searching the database in there. Those are going to be more accurate, but even then, just take a second to click on it and look at the calories, the macros, and just see, like, does this make sense? If you click on one and let's say it has 300 calories, but there's nothing in the macros, probably be best to try to find a different one. Or maybe you click on it and it says 300 calories, but it only has like 5 grams of carbs and 1 gram of protein. It's like, okay, that math isn't going to be adding up. Or maybe it is, if you're eating, try to come up with a random example, like some fruit, and it says that it has like 15 grams of protein in it. Fruit is mostly going to be carbs and fiber, and so you're not going to be getting 15 grams of protein through fruit. And so again, that's another example where you need to just kind of double check and make sure that it's accurate. And the more and more time that you spend tracking, the more you're going to build this intuitive sense of like knowing what something should be. In the very, very beginning, you might be like, I don't know, does fruit have protein in it? I don't really know. But as you start to track more, you can Google, you can ask your coach, you're going to start to build this internal sense of like, oh yeah, I know that food is going to be mostly protein and maybe a little bit of fat, or this is all carbs or whatever, and you start to learn that, but you only get that through actually taking the time to learn and track your food. Another one would be not tracking liquid calories. So if you are using like cooking oils, if you are drinking coffee and you add creamer to it, if you drink juice throughout the day, all those liquids still have calories, and we need to track those ones too. And then the last one, this one can be a little bit confusing for people as well, but especially when it comes to eating foods like meats or like pasta or potatoes, rice, things like that, making sure that you log it however you weigh it or measure it. So essentially what I mean by that is if you measure like 4 ounces of cooked chicken, but you log 4 ounces of raw chicken, the data or the calories and the macros on those two things are going to be different. Or imagine maybe one that might be a little bit easier to like grasp your head around might be think about like pasta, right? So if you weigh out 2 ounces of raw pasta and then log 2 ounces of cooked pasta, those are gonna be really, really different amounts of pasta because the cooked pasta also has all the water that it absorbed in it as well. So again, the rule of thumb is to always track it the same way you weighed it. So if you, whatever, if you're eating chicken or you're eating rice or you're eating a potato, if you are measuring that cooked, you need to be searching for cooked in MyFitnessPal. If you are measuring it raw, you need to be looking for raw in MyFitnessPal. Raw is always, I would say, like the easiest, most accurate way to go, just because, depending on how you cook something, that could also change the weight of it a little bit. But if you're making like a giant batch of something, that might be a little bit harder to do. So you can still always research like cooked. Another thing too is that I will specifically look up like grilled or roasted or steamed, especially with like different veggies. If you think about like broccoli, you could roast it or you could steam it. And again, those weights are going to be a little bit different. And so you can get specific in your MyFitnessPal searches. And if any of this doesn't make any sense or you have further questions or you're just unsure, reach out to your coach. We all have years of experience with tracking and can help you and support you along the way. All right, those are all the things I wanted to talk through in this video. You've officially completed this module series and you're ready to get tracking.